Hello students, welcome to the online session of Database Management System. In today's session, we are going to study about introduction to PL/SQL Cursor and types of cursor. In previous sessions of PL/SQL, we have studied about PL/SQL block structure, then the types of PL/SQL block, procedures and functions in PL/SQL. Now, in today's session, we are going to study about cursors by using which we can interact with the database system. The learning objectives of today's session are: after learning this session, students will be able to describe the concept of PL/SQL cursor, student will be able to describe the use of cursor, and students will be able to write PL/SQL block or PL/SQL procedure using cursor to interact with the database system. So first we'll start with the cursor in PL/SQL. We know that SQL statements are used to access or manipulate data stored in the database system. That is, if we want to interact with the database system, then we can use SQL, that is structured query language statements, to perform the required operations. So Oracle database engine uses some memory area, which is also called as work area, to execute SQL statements and to store results of those statements. See, PL/SQL is a programming language which is an extension of SQL and which is mainly designed to work with the Oracle type of databases. So when we use SQL statement in PL/SQL programs, then Oracle database use some memory area which is reserved in main memory to execute those embedded SQL statements. Okay, so cursor is what? So cursor is a pointer variable which is used to point to that memory area which is used by Oracle database engine to execute SQL statement. And this work area, that is this reserve memory area, is only used to execute SQL operations. And that memory area or that memory is pointed by and controlled by cursor, okay, which is a variable. So cursor retrieves a single row from the result set at a time. So when we use cursor to execute SQL operation, at that time that cursor fetches or that cursor accesses a single row from the result set, that is from the table. And the data which is stored in cursor, that is the data which is stored as a result of query in the reserve memory area. So that data is called as an active data set. It is called as an active data set because that data, that row which is fetched by cursor from table is active for the operation or which is currently in use. That's why it is called as active data set. Okay. Oracle has a predefined reserve memory area in main memory. So whatever memory area or work area reserved for executing SQL statement by Oracle, that area is reserved in main memory. And the data fetched by cursor is opened in that predefined area and then transferred to user machine. Whatever data user machine or client machine demands from the table by using cursor, that data is first stored in that predefined memory area which is pointed by cursor, and then that data is manipulated by using cursor and it is transferred to client machine after manipulation. The size of cursor is limited to the size of that predefined memory area. Okay, so when we say cursor is a variable which is used to point to that memory area where SQL statements are executed and results are stored, so the size of that cursor, the size of that variable is limited to the size of that predefined work area. Okay, so this is all about cursor in PL/SQL. The cursor is simply a variable, or we can say it is a pointer variable which is used to point to the reserved area that is used by Oracle database engine to execute SQL statement and to store the result of SQL statement. Okay. Now we have two types of cursor. Implicit cursor is there and explicit cursor is there. So first we'll see what is meant by implicit cursor. So implicit cursors are those cursors that are automatically created and closed when any data manipulation language statement is executed. So data manipulation language statements like insert, update and delete. When we use these three statements in PL/SQL block, in PL/SQL procedure, then when we use any insert, update or delete query in PL/SQL block to manipulate those query, that reserve memory area is used by Oracle engine, and that memory area where these queries are getting manipulated, that memory area is accessed by using cursor. Okay, so implicit type of cursors are created automatically and closed when the PL/SQL block completes. Okay, so to use implicit type of cursor, there is no need to define or declare any cursor variable. Okay, they'll get created automatically when we execute any of the insert, update or delete statements. These implicit cursors are managed by Oracle, and these type of cursors are not accessible to programmers. Means programmer cannot create implicit type of cursors, or programmer cannot control the work or the function of implicit type of cursor. This implicit cursor fetches a single row at a time. Means if we want to access data by using implicit type of cursor, if we want to display data by using select query, then implicit type of cursor can fetch only single row at a given time. Implicit type of cursor cannot fetch bulk data, or implicit type of cursor cannot fetch number of rows at a given time. Okay. Now we'll see what are the attributes of cursor. So first attribute is %found. Okay, these attributes are used as a postfix to cursor name. Okay, so %found is an attribute which returns true value. It is a boolean. It returns a boolean type of data, either true or false. Okay, so %found returns true value if one or more rows are affected by insert, update or delete statement. See, whenever we use these data manipulation statements in any PL/SQL block or in any SQL editor, these statements manipulate some data from the database system. Okay, so when we use this statement in PL/SQL block, if any rows are affected by these statements, then %found attribute returns true. Okay, or if one or more than one row are returned by select into statement, then also it will return a true value. Okay, means by DML statement or by select statements, if any of the rows in table get affected, then %found attribute returns true value, otherwise it will return false value. Then second attribute is %not found. Okay, it is opposite to %found. This %not found returns true value if no rows are affected by insert, update or delete statements, or no rows are returned by select into statement. Select into statement is used to display data. It is used to access data from the table. If insert, update or delete statement or select into statement don't affect any of the rows in table, then %not found returns true value, otherwise it will return false. The next attribute is %is open. It is used to check whether cursor is open or not. Okay, and this %is open always returns false for implicit type of cursor, because implicit cursor is automatically closed after execution of associated SQL statement. See, when we execute insert statement in PL/SQL block, then implicit type of cursor will get created automatically, and after the execution of that insert statement, it will get closed automatically again. Okay, so since this implicit type of cursor is opened and closed automatically by the system, %is open always returns false. That is, it always indicate that the cursor is closed. It is not open. So it always return false for the implicit type of cursor. Then next we have percent row count attribute. Percent row count, as name suggests, it is used to return number of rows affected by DML statements or number of rows returned by select into statement. If number of rows written by any insert, update or delete statements are more than one, then it will return that count. It will return the number of rows which are processed by DML and select into statement. So these are the attribute. This cursor attribute are mainly used to indicate the status of cursor with which we are working in our PLSQL block. Now we'll see examples for implicit cursor. So first we'll see how to insert row into table by using implicit cursor. Implicit cursor is a cursor which gets created automatically when any insert, update or delete statement or any select into statement is executed in PLSQL block. So suppose one table is there which is a student table which has three attributes: roll number, name and percentage. Now we'll see how this cursor works. So first we have declare section. In declare section we have declared one variable row number and the data type of that variable is number, size is 2. This row number variable, we are using this in our PLSQL block to count number of rows inserted by that block. Okay. Then begin section is there, which is a executable section of PLSQL block. Here we have given one insert query, insert into student values, and in bracket we have specified three values: roll number, name of student and percentage. Okay, means we want to insert this data by using this PLSQL block. Now implicit cursor will get created when this insert query appear in a block. At this at this moment, implicit cursor will get created automatically by the Oracle database engine. And once this block is executed, once this block has completed its execution, that cursor will closed automatically by the Oracle database engine. Okay. Then we are inserting this data into the table. Then we have one if loop. If SQL percent not found, then now we have used this if loop to check whether cursor has affected some row or not. SQL is a name of that implicit cursor. It is a default name which is given to that implicit cursor, and we are using that attribute with that cursor name to check what is the status of that cursor. So when we say if SQL percent not found, if this statement returns true value, it means that no row is affected by this cursor. Okay. And then in DBMS output dot put line, this statement is used to display some output. By using this statement, we are displaying one message that no row inserted. If SQL percent not found, this statement returns true value. It means that no row is inserted by the cursor. Okay. Otherwise, if SQL percent found, if SQL percent found returns true value, it means that row is inserted by the cursor. Okay. Then if it is true, then row number, that is our variable, is equal to SQL percent row count. Okay. SQL percent row count, this syntax or this statement is used to count number of rows that are affected by the cursor, that is by the SQL, which is the name of that cursor. Okay. Then it will count those rows, the number of rows, and it will assign that value to row number variable. Okay. And then by using DBMS output dot put line statement, we are just displaying the number of rows inserted by the cursor. Now in this case, the number of rows inserted by the cursor is only 1, which is specified in the begin section, that is insert into student values 5. Okay, then it will insert data for roll number 5. So this is how we can use cursor, this is how we can use PL SQL block to interact with the database system. Okay, here again I am repeating that when insert into statement will get executed, after the execution of insert into statement, that cursor will get closed automatically. Okay, and then SQL percent not found, this statement is used to check whether any row is affected by cursor or not. If it returns true value, it means that no row is inserted by cursor. If not, then we'll go to the else if block. In else if block, again we are checking that whether any row is inserted by the cursor. Then we are checking it by using syntax SQL percent found. If SQL percent found returns value true, it means that row is inserted by the cursor. Okay, and then the next statement is row number equals to SQL percent row count. SQL percent row count, this is used to count the number of rows inserted or number of rows affected by the given cursor. Okay, and then by using next dbms output.putLine statement, we are just printing the number of rows inserted by the block. So this is a simple program, simple PL SQL block using for implicit cursor, using which we are inserting data into the table. Now let's see how to update row by using implicit cursor. See, implicit cursor gets created automatically, so there is no need to declare or define this cursor variable in a block. We just need to write insert, update, delete and select query in a PL SQL block. So again take same example, student table with 3 attribute, roll number, name and percentage. Here we have again declare section with same variable, that is row number, which is used to count number of rows that are updated by the implicit cursor. And in begin section we have one update query. Now I have written query that update student set percentage equals to 90 where roll number equals to 1. That is, I want to update the mark of roll number 1 to 90. Okay, I want to change the percentage of roll number 1. So I have written that query. Update student set percentage equals to 90 where roll number equals to 1. Now when this statement appear in a PL SQL block, implicit cursor will get created automatically. And then again we are checking whether rows are affected by the cursor or not. If SQL percent not found, if this statement returns true value, then no rows are updated. Otherwise, if SQL percent found, if this statement returns true value, it means that row is updated by the cursor. Okay, then we are fetching that row number by using SQL percent row count syntax. We are fetching that row count into row number variable, and then we are printing the number of rows updated by the cursor. Okay, now here I have written update query that update student set percentage equals to 90 where roll number equals to 1. Means I have given a condition by using where clause. So here it will update only single row because I have given condition where roll number equals to 1. If we want to update more than one row, then there is no need to specify the condition. Okay, means here if I write update student set percentage equals to 90, if I write only this statement update student set percentage equals to 90 without where clause, without specifying any condition, then it will update all rows. Okay, it will set percentage 90 to all the 5 students. Okay, means by using implicit cursor in update query, we can update single row or we can update number of rows by specifying condition, or we can update all rows without specifying any condition. Okay, so implicit cursor can be used to update data in a bulk, or it is used to update number of rows at the same time. So this is how we can use update query in PLSQL block. Then we have delete query. Again consider same statement, same table, student table. In declare section we have one row number variable which is of number type. Okay. Then in begin section, now instead of insert and update, I have written delete query. So my query is delete from student where percentage less than 70. So I want to delete the data for all those students who have percentage less than 70. So here again I am checking whether rows are affected by that cursor or not by using syntax if SQL percent not found. If it returns true value, it means that no rows are deleted by the cursor. Else if SQL percent found, if it returns true value, it means that rows are deleted by the cursor. Okay, then we are fetching that row count into row number variable. Row number equals to SQL percent row count. Okay, means we are fetching the number of rows deleted by SQL cursor into row number variable, and then by using dbms output.putLine statement we are just printing the value of row number. Okay, so this is how we can use delete query into implicit cursor program. Okay, so here I have given condition where percentage less than 70, then it will delete only those rows where students have percentage less than 70. If we want to delete all rows, then we can simply write delete from student without specifying any condition. Then it will delete all rows from the table. Means in implicit cursor, we can update number of rows using single update command without specifying any condition. Similarly, we can delete number of rows without specifying condition or with condition in implicit cursor PLSQL block. Okay. Now we'll see how to select data, that is how to display data from the table by using implicit cursor. Okay, so same table is there, student table with three attributes, roll number, name and percentage. In declare section now I have declared two variables. One is name variable and second is percentage variable. Now this is a PLSQL block using cursor to display few attribute. Now we don't want to display all the attribute. I want to display only name and percentage. So I have declared two variable, name and percentage. And now what is the type of that variable? See, I have written name student dot sname percent type. Now what does it mean? Student is the name of table dot sname. Sname is the name of attribute in that student table, okay, which is used to store the names of all the student. So student dot sname means I am accessing sname attribute from the student table, and then percent type, it means that I am assigning the type of sname attribute to name variable. Name is a variable which is declared in PLSQL block, okay, and I want to access names of all student from student table into that name variable. Okay, so the data type of this name variable must be equal to the data type of attribute in student table, because we are fetching data from sname attribute into name variable. Okay, so we need to declare this name variable with the same attribute as that of sname column, sname attribute in student table. So I have simply written name student dot sname percent type. It means that assign the data type of sname attribute from student table to name variable. Okay. Now this name variable will have same data type as that of sname attribute in student table. Percent type, this keyword or percent type, this constraint is used to assign the type of attribute to the variable. Okay. Similarly, I have another variable percentage. I want to fetch percentage of student from student table into this per variable. Okay, per is the name of my variable. So the data type of this per variable must be equal to the data type of percentage attribute. Okay, that's why I have written per student dot percentage percent type. Okay, it means that this percent type will assign the data type of percentage attribute to per variable. Okay, now after this declaration, name will have data type equal to s name and per will have data type equal to percentage. Now we can fetch sname into name variable because data types are same, and we can fetch percentage into per variable because data types are same. Okay, so this is how we can declare variable to fetch data from the table. Okay, see, we are not fetching entire row, we are only fetching few attribute. In begin section, I have written select query. Select sname percentage. I want to select these two attribute, sname and percentage, into name comma per. Okay, means I have two variables, name and per, and I want to access sname and percentage attribute into name and per. See, sname and percentage, these are the attribute of table. We cannot use this attribute name or we cannot use this attribute as it is in a PL/SQL block for processing. So first we need to fetch the values of those attribute into local variable. Okay, so here name and percentage, these two are the local variable whose data types are same as that of sname and percentage. So by using select query, we are fetching data from sname and percentage attribute into local variable name and percentage. Okay, so here I want to I want to access data for roll number 1. So I have simply written a query that select sname comma percentage into name per. Okay, we'll select the value of these two percentage, fetch the value of these two attribute into two local variable from student where roll number equals to 1. Okay, now when this query appears in your PL/SQL block, then implicit cursor will get created automatically. Okay, and then that implicit cursor will fetch data from sname attribute and percentage attribute, and it will store that data into name variable and per variable for which student where roll number equals to 1. Means it will fetch data for single student. As we have already seen that implicit cursor is used to fetch single row at a given time. Okay. Now next is if SQL percent not found. Okay. If it is true, it means that no row is selected by the cursor. It means that there is no row with a given condition in a table. Okay. Otherwise, else if SQL percent found. If this is true, it means that row is selected by the cursor, and then in DBMS output.putLine method, in this statement we are displaying the data which is selected by the query, okay, which is selected by the cursor. So that data is in local variable name and per. So we are just displaying the value of name and per. So this is how we can access data from table into local variable. See, whenever we want to access data from table in PL/SQL block, then we cannot use the attribute of table as it is in a PL/SQL block. We need to create local variable, and then in that local variable we can fetch the value of attributes in a table. Okay, so this is a simple program. Now we'll see how to select all attribute, means how to select entire row, how to display entire row using implicit cursor. Again same table is there. In declare section now, instead of declaring individual variable, I have created a single variable. which is of type record. Okay, record is a type of variable which is used to hold entire row, which is used to hold all the attribute in a single table. Okay, so my variable name or record name is studcur. Okay, it is a name of record, and the type of this studcur is student percent row type. Okay, see, now we are not fetching individual attribute, we are fetching entire row. Okay, so instead of percent type we are using percent row type. Okay, and see, here we have not specified any attribute name like previous example. In previous example we have written name student dot sname percent type, because we are only fetching the value of sname attribute. Now here we are not fetching the value of individual attribute, we are fetching entire row at a given time. That's why we have created one record studcur. It is a record variable, and we are assigning the type of row to that studcur. Means studcur is a record which can hold entire row, okay, in a table. So the syntax or the definition of record is studcur student percent row type. That is, whatever the type of row in student table, assign that data type to studcur. Okay, now here studcur is a record variable which can hold the values of all attribute, which can be used as a pointer to entire row in a student table. Now in next in program we'll see how to use this studcur record. Okay, so I have simply written a select query, select star into studcur from student where roll number equals to 5. Now I want to display data for roll number 5. So here now we don't have individual variable, we have a record. So we can simply write select star. I want to select all data, all attributes. So I have written select star into what? Into local variable. Now my local variable is a record variable. So select star into studcur from student where roll number equals to 5. Now your cursor is open for use and the cursor will fetch data from the table. Okay. Again check the condition whether data is fetched by cursor or not. If SQL percent not found is true, it means that no row is selected by the cursor. Else if SQL percent found is true, it means that row is selected by the cursor, and now display that row. Now see, studcur is what? Studcur is record. Means that studcur variable is used to point to the entire row. This studcur can point to roll number, studcur can point to sname, and by using studcur we can also access percentage also. Okay, so here while displaying data in dbms output.put line, we need to prefix attribute name with the record name. Okay, just like object, a class and object. Okay, so here I have written studcur dot roll number, means it will display the value of roll number. If we want to display name, then we can simply use studcur dot name and studcur dot percentage. Okay, since studcur is not a single variable, studcur is a record type of variable which is used to point to the entire row. Means now this studcur is a pointer to the row which we want to display. So to display all attribute, we need to prefix attribute name with the record name. So when we write studcur dot roll number, then it will display roll number only. If we want to display name, then simply write studcur dot name. Okay, so this is how we can display entire row all attribute by using record. Okay, so this is the use of implicit cursor in insert, update, delete and select query. Now we'll see what is explicit type of cursor. So explicit cursors are created, managed and closed by the programmer. It is opposite to implicit type of cursor. Implicit cursors are automatically created by Oracle engine and they are managed and controlled by Oracle engine, database engine, and they are not accessible to programmer. Whereas explicit type of cursors are created by programmer and they are managed and closed by programmer. It is created for the select statement that returns more than one row. We know that implicit cursor can select or can fetch a single row from the table. But when we want to select more than one row, when we want to access more than one row, then we can go for explicit type of cursor. So there are certain steps to use and create this explicit cursor. First step is declare cursor. Now explicit cursor is a user defined cursor, so we need to declare it explicitly in a program. It is defined in a declaration section of PL/SQL block, just like simple variables, okay, or normal variables. So to declare cursor, syntax is cursor. First write down this cursor keyword, then write down the name of cursor, and then each keyword is there, and write down the select statement. Okay, so select statement is nothing but a select query by using which we are fetching data from table into cursor. So this is the simple syntax to create explicit cursor in PL/SQL block. Okay, after declaring cursor, now we need to open cursor for the use. So this cursor is opened in a execution section, that is in begin section of PL/SQL block. Explicit cursor is declared in declare section and it is opened in begin section of PL/SQL block. And when this cursor is opened by using open cursor or open cursor name syntax, when this cursor is open, Oracle database engine allocates some memory to that cursor, and that cursor becomes ready to fetch to access data from the table. Okay. Then third step is fetch data. After memory allocation, we now the cursor is ready to fetch data. Once we open that cursor, it can fetch rows, it can fetch data from the database. Then last step is close cursor. Once data manipulation is completed, cursor is closed explicitly to release memory allocated to it. Once we have completed with all data manipulation statement in PL/SQL block, we need to close the cursor by giving some command. Okay, so that memory allocated to that cursor will get released after the use. So by using these four steps, we can create and use explicit cursor in a PL/SQL block. Now we'll see how to use explicit cursor to fetch row, that is all attributes from the table. So again we have same student table with three attributes: roll number, name and percentage. Here in declare section of PL/SQL block, I have declared one cursor called SQL. Okay, so my syntax is, or the declaration statement is, first write down keyword cursor, which is used to declare cursor. So cursor keyword is here. After cursor keyword, write down the name of cursor. So here in this example, my cursor name is SQL. Okay, then write down each keyword and then write down the select statement that you want to execute in that cursor. Okay, so my total declaration statement is cursor SQL, cursor name is select star from student where percentage greater than 70. Okay, so in this PL/SQL block, I want to select the data of only those students who have percentage greater than 70. Okay, so I here in this PL/SQL block, I am assigning that select query to cursor SQL. Okay, so when this query will get executed, that is select star from student where percentage greater than 70, when this query will get executed, it will fetch the required data from student table and it will assign all those rows to cursor, that is to SQL. Means SQL will be a pointer to that memory area where this active data set is stored. Okay, means by using SQL, this cursor name, we can access all rows that satisfy the given condition. Okay, so our cursor is declared. Now in next statement we have one variable, that is stud_r. Okay, the data type of that stud_r variable is same as that of data type of cursor. Okay, here SQL is cursor which is used to point to the entire row from student table. So here we have declared one stud_r variable with the data type SQL percentage row type. It means that whatever may be the type of row stored in SQL, Okay, same data type will be applicable to std variable. Means std variable will have same data type as that of row which is stored in SQL Cursor. Okay, now here SQL is also pointing to row in student table, and std which is a normal variable which is also used to hold data from student table. Okay, then in begin section now we are opening cursor by using syntax open SQL. Okay, means here we are opening that cursor for the use. Now your cursor is ready to fetch data from the table. See, in declaration section when we write select query, it means that we are just assigning that query to SQL. Okay, that query is not executed in declare section. In begin section we are actually going to fetch data. Okay, now here we have one loop. We have already studied loop statements in PL/SQL. So loop is a simple loop which is used to iterate given statement number of times until we complete the processing or until that exit condition met. Okay, so here loop is given, and in that loop we are continuously iteratively fetching data from the table by using fetch statement. Okay, so my statement is fetch SQL into std, means fetch cursor data into std variable. Okay, means here we have defined one cursor, and that cursor is used to hold data which are returned by select query, and then we are fetching that data into std variable. Because see, we cannot here to display data we need that normal variable which is not a cursor. Okay, so that normal variable or simple variable is std. So first we are executing select query, then we are assigning the result of select query to cursor, and then we are fetching the rows from cursor to normal variable, and then we'll display data by using that normal variable which is a std variable in this case. Okay, so in loop we are repeatedly fetching data from cursor to normal variable. If SQL not found, then exit. And if we don't found, if this statement returns true, that is SQL not found equals to true, it means that cursor has not accessed any of the rows from the table. Okay, and if there is no row in cursor, then exit from the PL/SQL block and end if. And if there is a row, if this SQL not found, if this statement return false, it means that some rows are fetched by cursor. Then go to the next statement. There is no need to exit the program. If there are rows in cursor, then display that row by using dbms output.putLine. In dbms output.putLine, we are displaying fetched data by using std variable, std dot roll number, std dot lsname, std dot percentage. Okay, here this std is what? It is a record variable. It is a simple variable which is pointing to the row in cursor. Okay, so this is how we can repeatedly fetch number of rows from the table by using explicit cursor. See, we can display data by using implicit cursor also, but the limitation of implicit cursor is that it can fetch single row. Okay, when we want to fetch number of rows, when we want to display number of rows from the table, then we should use explicit type of cursor. And while using explicit type of cursor, first we need to declare that cursor in declare section. Then in execution section, that is in begin section, we first open that cursor for the use by using open cursor name command. Then by using loop statement and fetch command, we are fetching data from the table to cursor. Okay, and then we display that data by using dbms output.putLine method. Okay, so this is how we can select number of rows from the table by using explicit cursor. Then close cursor after use. Okay, see, our data is now displayed. Then loop is also end. After end loop, I have given one additional statement, that is dbms output.putLine total number of rows processed by that cursor. So how can we count total number of rows? By using attribute row count. When you write SQL percent row count, then it will give you number of rows processed by that cursor. Okay, so and after that we are closing cursor by using close SQL command. Okay, see, explicit cursor is created by programmer. So programmer has to declare that cursor, programmer has to open it, programmer has to write fetch statement explicitly in a program to fetch data, and then to close cursor, programmer has to write close cursor name command. Okay, then only your cursor will get closed because it is a explicit type of cursor. Okay, so this is the program to fetch data from table by using explicit cursor. Now we'll see how to use same program to display few attribute from the table. See, in previous program, in previous PLSQL block, we have fetched all the attribute from the table. Now we want to fetch only few attribute. We don't want to fetch all attribute from the table. Then same table is here. In declare section, we have declared same cursor, that is cursor SQL is select roll number from student where percentage greater than 70. See, now we have declared same cursor as we have declared in our previous program. Okay, but here we have declared one std variable which is a simple variable, and this variable is not pointing to entire row. Okay, now see, the declaration of std variable is different than the previous program. Here my declaration is student dot roll number percent type. Now here I only want to select roll number. I don't want to select all attribute. Okay, so here I have written student dot roll number percent type, means whatever is the data type of roll number attribute in student table, assign that data type to std variable so that std variable can hold only roll number. In previous program, std variable was the record type of variable, so that std variable is of type row type, percent row type. Okay, but here we are only using percent type. Okay, means here we are only assigning roll number to std variable. We are not assigning all attribute to that std variable. This is the only difference. Then in begin section, same, we are first opening cursor, then loop statement is here, then fetch statement is here, fetch SQL into std. We are fetching cursor rows into that normal variable. Okay, and then if SQL percent not found, means if no data is fetched by cursor, then exit the block, otherwise print that roll number. Okay, now see, here std is a variable which is only pointing to roll number. So in dbms output dot put line statement, we are writing that variable name as it is, that is std. Okay, roll number equals to std. It will only print roll number. There is no need to write std dot roll number, because here std is not a record variable. It is a simple variable and it can hold only roll number, because we have declared it like that, student dot roll number percent type. Okay, so here there is no need to write student dot roll number. Okay, so here we are declaring that data, then we are counting number of rows processed by the cursor. Okay, and then we are closing cursor by using close cursor name command, close SQL. So this is how we can display few attribute from the table. Now here I want to display only roll number, so I have declared only simple variable std, only single variable to hold roll number. If I want to execute select query like this, cursor SQL is select roll number comma name from the student. Suppose I want to display these two attributes. In that case, I need to declare two variables. First is std variable student dot roll number percent type, which is used to hold roll number only. Then I'll declare another variable, suppose s1. Okay, s1 student dot sname percent type. Okay, means if I want to fetch two attribute, then I need to declare two simple variable. along with cursor. Okay, so this is how you can fetch few attributes by using explicit cursor. Now, what is explicit cursor for loop? For loop, as we know, it is a iterative type of loop. Okay, a cursor with a for loop automatically checks for the row count of fetched data and exit from the loop when all data stored in the cursor is manipulated. See, in previous program we have not used for loop, we have used simple loop. So in simple loop we need to execute fetch statement. Okay, but when we use for cursor loop, okay, when we use cursor with a for loop, then that for loop will automatically check for the number of rows that are fetched by the cursor. Okay, and then it will iterate the statement, it will iterate the select query number of times equal to that count. Okay, and then when count reaches to 0 or when count reaches to maximum limit, then it will automatically exit from the loop. Okay, and the syntax for cursor for loop is, first we write for keyword, then variable name, then in keyword and cursor name, loop, then after this write down the executable statement and then end loop command. Okay, here variable name is what? Variable name is nothing but a index variable that we use in our regular for loop. Okay, and that variable name, which is an index variable, this is of type cursor. Okay, and this variable name is a local variable of loop, that is we can use that variable name with that, we can use that index variable inside the loop only, we cannot use that index variable out of the loop. Okay, and cursor name is what? Cursor name is the name of cursor that we have declared in a declare section. At each iteration, for loop fetches one row from the cursor into index variable. Okay, see, after execution of select query, the data is transferred to cursor and then for loop fetches one row from that cursor to index variable for the processing. Okay, for loop automatically opens cursor, fetches data from the table and closes cursor after complete processing. So in previous program we have explicitly open cursor by using open cursor name command, then we have used fetch command to fetch data, and then we have used close cursor command to close the cursor. But here in for loop there is no need to write these three statements. When you give for loop with the cursor name in your program, then that for loop automatically open cursor, it will fetch data from the table and it will close cursor after loop ends. Okay, so there is no need to, so after using for loop we can save these three instructions. Now we'll see how to use this for loop with explicit cursor in a program. So program is select all attribute using explicit cursor for loop. Okay, now the program is same as that of previous program, but here instead of open cursor, fetch cursor and close cursor command, instead of using these three command, we are using for loop. Okay, so here we have declared one cursor variable, that is cursor scur is select star from student. Now I want to display all data from student table without any condition. I want to select all the attribute. Then begin command is there, begin section is there. In begin section, now here we don't have open cursor command. Okay, as we have written that command in our previous program. Here we don't have open cursor command. Here we are directly writing for loop, for s data in scur loop. Now here s data is a index variable. Okay, in our previous program we have declared that variable, that simple variable, explicitly in a declare section. In previous program we have two declaration. One declaration is of cursor declaration and second declaration is a simple variable. Now here in for loop there is no need to declare index variable in declare section. When we write the name of that index variable along with for loop, it is itself a declaration of that variable. Okay, so when we write statement like this, for s data in scur, it means that we are declaring an index variable with name s data, and that as data variable is used to fetch rows from the cursor. Okay, then loop keyword is there, and in that for loop you write down the statement to display your data. Okay, dbms output dot put line is data dot roll number is data dot name is data dot percentage. Now see, this program is same as that of previous program, but the difference is that in previous program we have used loop statement. Here instead of loop statement we are using for loop, means instead of simple loop we are using for loop. Okay, so by using for loop you can also minimize the number of statement. Here in this program we don't have open command, we don't have fetch command, and we are not writing close cursor command. Okay, when you give statement for sdata in SQL loop, then it automatically opens cursor, it automatically fetches data from the table, and it automatically closes cursor when you write end loop command. Okay, so your three commands are saved in this case. Okay, now we'll have another example for cursor for loop, that is select few attribute. Okay, so I have written cursor SQL is select roll number from student where percentage greater than 70. Okay, now I want to select only roll number, I don't want to select all the attribute. In begin section again we have same syntax for sdata in SQL loop. Okay, now here in dbms output dot put line statement, instead of displaying all data, here we have fetched only roll number, so we are only displaying roll number as data dot roll number. Then end of loop, your cursor is automatically closed in end loop statement, and then end of your PL/SQL block. Okay, so this is how we can use for loop with explicit cursor. When we want to fetch number of rows from the table, then we using explicit cursor, then we can either use simple loop statement or we can go for loop. When you use simple loop, then you need to open cursor, fetch data, and close cursor. You need to write these three commands explicitly in a program. But when you use explicit cursor with for loop, then there is no need to write this three command. You just need to write for statement. When you write that for statement, it will automatically declare index variable, it will automatically open cursor, fetch data, and it will automatically close the cursor after the end of loop. Okay, now see, in previous PL/SQL session we have studied PL/SQL procedure, how to use procedure to perform certain tasks. Okay, so in PL/SQL the main purpose of procedure is to manipulate data from the database system. Okay, now we'll see how to use procedure to display data using explicit cursor. So one EMP table is there. This EMP table consists of 4 attributes: employee ID, employee name, salary, and department. Okay, so these 4 attributes are there, and the data for 5 employees are stored. Now we'll see how to create procedure. You are already familiar with this syntax: create or replace procedure, then procedure name. Now here my procedure name is EMP data. Then in bracket you need to write down the number of attribute for that procedure. Now procedure receives 3 different types of parameter: in parameter, which is a input type of variable; out parameter, which is used to output data; and in out parameter, which is used as a input as well as output variable. Okay, now here this EMP data procedure receives one parameter D name, that is department name, and which is of type in. It is a input type of parameter, and the data type of this D name is emp.dept name percent type. It means that whatever is the data type of dept name attribute in EMP table, assign that data type to D name. Okay, see here we are not writing like this dname in varchar 2. Okay, we are assigning the data type of attribute dept name, which is an attribute of EMP table, to dname. Okay, and then as keyword, Now when we write as keyword, it means that this procedure is a standalone procedure. It is not a part of any PLSQL block. And if we write procedure which is a part of any PLSQL block, then instead of as we use is keyword. Okay. Then after as keyword we have declared our cursor. Cursor ecur is the name of cursor, is select star from emp where department name equals to d name. Okay, see, now when we call this procedure from any other block, then along with that procedure name we'll specify the name of department that we want to display. Okay, so and that department name will be received by emp data procedure in dname variable, because it is a input type of variable. Okay, so my select query is select star from emp where department name equals to dname. Okay, now user has to specify this department name while calling this procedure. Then another rcount variable is there, which is a number type of variable, and this variable is used to keep record of number of rows selected by this cursor. Then begin section is there. In begin section, now instead of loop we are using for loop. So for e-data in ecur loop. Okay, e-data is an index variable which is pointing to rows that are stored in ecur, that are stored in cursor. And in dbms output dot putline method, we are displaying data edata dot employee id, edata dot name, and edata dot salary. Okay, we are displaying only 3 attribute here. We don't want to display department name because we are giving that department name while calling that procedure. Okay, so we are displaying data for the particular department. And then count, r count variable, r count equals to ecur percent row count, and then we are counting number of rows processed by cursor, and we are assigning that count to r count. Okay, then end of loop, your cursor is closed now. Then in another dbms dot output dot putline statement, we are displaying number of rows processed by the cursor. Okay, now let's see how to call this procedure. Now we have created this procedure to display the data of employees working in any department. Okay, the department name will be given by a calling block, or the department name will be specified by user. So my calling block is a simple PLSQL block. Calling block is a block from where we call the procedure. So here I have written one simple calling block. Begin statement is there. In this begin statement we are calling that procedure. So how to call procedure? We just need to give procedure name, that is emp data, and in bracket write down the parameter that you want to pass. Okay, now this emp data is receiving only single parameter, that is department name. So here I want to display data for employees who are working in marketing department. Okay, so I have written emp data in bracket marketing. Now when this statement occurs in a calling block, it will transfer control to emp data procedure, and then it will execute that emp data procedure. So now when I write this statement emp data marketing, it means I want to display the data for person who are working in marketing department. Okay, now see, if you want to display data for employees working in production department, then you can simply write emp data production. Okay, then that production, that department name will be given as an input to emp data. Okay, and that input will be stored in dname variable. So our query will be like this: select star from emp where department name equals to marketing, or production. If input is production, then select star from emp where department name equals to production. Okay, so this is how we can use procedure to manipulate database. Now we'll see how to use procedure to update data. We have just seen how to use procedure to display data. Now let's see how to use procedure to update data using cursor. Now consider same employee table. Okay, employee ID, employee name, department, and salary. Same table is there. So I have written procedure create or replace procedure. EMP data procedure is also same. its attribute is also same, that is dname in emp.department name %type. The data type of this dname variable is same as that of data type of attribute dept name. Okay, and then adds keyword. Cursor is declared. Cursor ecur is select star from employee where department name equals to dname. Okay. Now here we are selecting data for employees that are working in given department, and in begin section we have given for loop of cursor, that is for edata in ecur loop. Edata is an index variable which is pointing to the records, which is pointing to the rows stored in cursor. Now we are fetching, see, for loop is fetching data from cursor if edata.salary is less than 5000. Okay, means edata is an index variable which is pointing to all the attribute of table. Okay, so edata is also pointing to salary. Now if the salary is less than 5000, then update emp set salary equals to salary plus 1000. Okay, now see, what is the purpose of this procedure? First we are fetching data from the table, then we are checking the salaries of employee, and if the salary of employee is less than 5000, then we are incrementing that salary by 1000. Okay, so now eCursor is the name of cursor which is used to store data from the table, and then edata is an index variable which is pointing to rows that are stored in cursor. Okay, so we are checking whether salary of any employee is less than 5000, and if it is less than 5000, then increment that salary by 1000. So I have written loop like this: if edata.salary is less than 5000, then write down update query, update emp set salary equals to salary plus 1000, and then end of if. Then after execution of this if loop, it will increment the salary of all employees where salary is less than 5000. Okay. Then dbms.output line statement is here, which is used to display data: edata.employee id, edata.name, and edata.salary. We are displaying only these three attributes. Then end of for loop. Okay, then your cursor is closed, and then end of your block. So this is a simple program to update data by using explicit cursor. Then calling block is same as that of previous example. In calling block, we are just calling procedure name by giving some department name. Okay, EMP data marketing. When you execute this statement, it will call the procedure and it will fetch data for marketing department. Then in for loop, it will check whether any employee is having salary less than 5000. If any employee is having salary less than 5000, then it will update that salary to salary equals to salary plus 1000, means it will increment the salary by 1000, and then after that increment we are displaying the data. Okay, so this is how we can change the values in database by using update statement. Okay, so whenever you want to use procedure, PL/SQL procedure to manipulate database, you need to use cursor, and then you need to include that cursor in your procedure statement. Okay, so this is all about cursors in PL/SQL. In today's session we have studied how to use cursor to access data from the database system or to manipulate data in a database system. Okay, there are two types of cursor, implicit and explicit. Implicit cursor is created automatically by the Oracle engine, and these implicit cursors are not available for programmer, or they cannot be used by programmer. But explicit cursor, the main purpose of explicit cursor is to access data, to access number of rows at the same time from the table. Okay, and this cursor, explicit type of cursor, is created, maintained and closed by programmer itself. Okay, so this is all about today's session. Thank you.